This is the lake management meeting will come to order at 7 p.m. And if there's anybody else recording this meeting, please notify me as the chair. And we'll continue on 7 p.m. on the dot. Okay, the minutes from the last meeting, that would be from June 12th. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read them.
I didn't see anything in there, Dick, that looked off to me, so. Unless somebody else has comments, I recommend we accept them.
Okay. No other comments, anybody? All right.
I'll second the motion.
And that's Norm. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. I gotta run down. Norm Cheever,
Aye.
Mike Coombs,
Aye.
Mike DeBay,
Aye.
Dick Reynolds, aye. Scotty Graves,
Aye.
Eric Muller,
Aye.
Paul Murphy, aye. And Paul Yocum is gonna join us shortly. He's en route. Unanimous. Okay. Firm. Timecom update. Norm?
Yes, a short one. There was nothing on the last agenda that involved the lake. There was nothing on the last Suffield agenda that involved the lake. But I wanted to update you on North Pond tours that the Conservation Commission has started. We started on May 14th. We've had 17 tours. We found 32 violations total. The most significant one in quantity is littering. Just about every time you go in, there's litter. But we've had 9 instances of destruction of property.
Wow.
And it's all cutting down the snow fence that we put up to close one of the trails.
Wow. What kind of snow fence is it? Is it wood or the plastic?
It's plastic.
Plastic.
All those orange things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So. And it's interesting, now on one particular day, normally when I go out in the morning. But on one of the hot days, I decided to go out on Saturday at 2 p.m. And I found 7 violations in that one trip, and it was an eye opener for me. There were 20 boats that were on the shore at Kings Beach. Several of them were above the high water mark, which they can't, it's illegal to do that.
yeah.
There were another dozen that was in the cove, but not on Kings Beach, and they were at the shoreline also. And there's grills on shore, which is violation, flotation devices on
You
ground.
guys have any cameras there yet?
Not yet. We have one in our possession for trial, but we don't
Okay.
have it installed yet.
So was the police chief notified? Oh,
I got home, I was smoking when I got home. Sent him an email
yeah,
that Saturday afternoon saying you better have boots on the ground on Sunday.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're doing
He
that
hasn't
down in my,
responded to my email yet.
yeah, they're doing that down in my cove. They're all pulling up, they're wiping out the shoreline.
Yeah,
It's just,
Yeah.
they just feel that that's their
own it.
privilege.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I
if you
think-
chase them out of there, they'll be down the south pond and they'll be
In
on
the southeast corner there.
Yeah, the corner where it's, where it's.
Yeah.
For the pine.
Yeah.
Right, and there's sign, I noticed, I was paddle boarding earlier this week and I noticed fresh signs on the end of South Pond, big big red no trespassing signs.
Wow. Huh. Well, once they're on the land in that end, that would be Suffield Police.
yeah.
Right.
But if the
Look,
boat's half and half.
It's
Yeah.
quite steep, it's quite
South-
steep
Southwark
there.
Do something about it also?
Yeah, Southwood can do it if they're in the water, right?
Yeah, they're half and half, so
Yeah, so they can get them,
they don't.
and so can the EPOs. Soon as you got your butt in the water, you're in Mass.
Right now. So that's
You're
the,
saying on the Connecticut side, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Eric, on the Connecticut side, they put up no trespassing signs?
On the end of South Pond, on the south end of South Pond, there's a series of very visible red and white no trespassing signs.
Wow.
All of the land that's not developed?
Right.
Yeah, I actually told him that a year or two ago. I says, you're sticking your neck out because people were, with the rope swings and everything
yeah.
else. I told him, I said, somebody gonna get hurt on your property, you ought to consider it.
Yeah,
Maybe that's, something must have happened for him
to do that.
to do that, to trigger it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people on Babbage Beach after hours too. But
Yeah.
they
it's
don't seem to
interesting.
do anything
I
about it.
see They put up no parking signs all along
Yeah,
there.
but I was there when the kids were closing the other night, and the people that were still parked in there, they told them they had to leave, and they just went across the street and parked and still walked down to the beach.
Yeah.
They never left.
Yeah,
So
I've seen it too.
I don't know if it's closed or not, you know,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
Any update on that 158 Berkshire? Did Concom take any action on the,
We decided just to keep an eye on them,
all right,
because we didn't,
did they file their,
not yet, I gotta take some pictures.
okay,
I got a little busy, haven't been able to get out and take.
Yeah.
pictures yet. That's coming.
yeah,
All right.
And the other one is on South Pond, where that house burnt down.
Yes,
They've cleared all that land now too. I don't know if Suffield got involved in that. Mike, did you notice that? It's all cleared out?
It's all clear. I haven't seen any work going on there.
Yeah, I
but
don't know
haven't
if
seen
there's
it
no-
since raining.
I
no,
I
they
didn't
got
know that.
approval to build a house there.
Yeah. Yeah,
One
that's-
concern,
I mean, that's all cleared, the whole hill.
I'm just
just
trying
like
to
the
fill in
other
a
end.
little bit about it.
yeah, one
Eric can
concern I
probably
have
see.
is that they cleared the land, but they cleared the whole hillside. They took all the vegetation off the hillside. And my
Oh.
concern is that that vegetation is what retains the hillside when it rains.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I didn't notice if there was a silk fence there either, Eric.
There isn't, there isn't. I was
That was
just
it.
there yesterday. I was just there yesterday paddle boarding, so it was nice and slow. I could see everything. And no, there's no silt fence.
Okay,
All right, I'll check that one out.
we don't want to keep adding work to you, but it's unfortunate it falls under Concom, you
Yeah,
know?
they may just not realize that vegetation is what retains their hillside. And if they take the vegetation out and we get some rain,
it's coming into the lake.
yeah, well, right. We're not happy it's going into the lake, but they're gonna lose, there isn't a lot of land there to start with.
Yeah. I don't know who owns that now. That was,
Was AOT.
it was AOT.
No, it's been sold twice. So Wazayat was sold to another couple who I met. They sold it this year and they bought a different piece of property on South Pond, one with a house, and they sold it to a new owner who's got 2 boats on the dock there.
Okay.
We'll check it out.
There isn't much vegetation on that hill.
Yeah,
No,
there wasn't.
no,
a
Now there
beginning.
isn't any.
What
Now it's 0.
So that's the Concom update.
Yeah,
From master plan. We haven't had a meeting since, our last meeting. But I did, complete my, I think I told you that was asked to show the measurement package to 3 different committees. I did finance, I did, economic development and conservation. Nobody stood up and says it's crazy idea. So I imagine we'll probably approve that going forward at our next meeting in July.
Yeah, great,
all right.
good news.
And if you have some words that you want to send me what you'd like to include in here
Okay,
for both
And
those.
we received what you sent out,
you did.
email, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
here comes Paul. Okay. Very good. There's your sorry, Alrighty, next on the hit parade. Water quality information. Eric, maybe you can give us some insight, what Ken Wagner sent,
Yeah.
that email.
Okay, so
The
so
one that he sent up talked about, the request for LRM models by DEP, got him thinking about. We're far enough into the treatment to compare model predictions with actual data.
Right. So that, look, we can sort of do this as, as helpful citizens of Massachusetts. It's not going to get us anything. So I provided a bunch of data to them, connected them up with Ken. Ken's provided additional data, and as he went through it, he said, "Hey, we could do some model comparisons, which I think would be a perfectly good thing for us to do. With regard to providing the data to the state, they won't really give us anything for that, but it's perfectly fine for us to do that if we can help them. The person I spoke to from the state, she's kind of new to it, but she's got a lot of things going. She's trying to be very helpful. Most of the lakes she's dealing with have a different set of issues than we have.
Okay,
Most of the lakes she's dealing with, their issues are external loading issues, basically development around the lake involved, and there's a lot of surface inflows into the lake, and so they're getting a lot of phosphorus and things coming in. That's not our problem. That's not the
No.
nature of our problem. So she and I had a whole discussion, and most of her stuff has to do with coping with those problems, which are sort of not our problems. And she said, well, it seems like you guys have, kind of, come up with solutions that seem to be working. I said, yep, we kind of do. We have some infalls that we still want to put flow separators in. I talked to her about that. And I told her, we have data to show that those have been extremely effective. Part of the reason we don't have an external loading problem is because of all that work that went on through S319 grants.
Yeah.
So shared that. And then just the general update, continue taking data, just did so again. Clarity wasn't so good, and it's actually improved now again, and even has improved a little bit since last week when I did sampling. So
You think that's all the rainfall that we had?
the suspicion, you always got to be careful because there's so many different things going on, biological and chemical in the lakes. But that when Ken and I talked about it, he said, yeah, we had a very, very rainy spring. We may have just had a lot of stuff get brought in, and it seems like it's calming down a bit. Again, the biggest thing now that limits our clarity is the alewife.
Yeah.
And we don't really have anything. There's nothing
Yeah.
practical to do about it. There is something you can do about it, but it's draconian. We wouldn't do it. So, so far so good. Ken is interested. He's thinking about taking this data that we've got, going back against the model that was used to calculate how much in alum we should be putting down. And basically, now we've got 5 years of data because we have been taking data. We've got 5 years of data. He may start to compare that to the model. And that would be both interesting just in general for people in the limnology community and interesting for us because, we have this general assessment that this treatment should be good for about 20 years. And we'd like to know if it looks like it's only going to be 15 or if it's going to be 25, that would be good to know ahead of time. So it's certainly something we want to support. And as far as giving data to the state, absolutely, we'll share data with them. It's just not clear that that's going to lead us to funding for things that we want to do. While I had her, I bent her ear about, we really, it would be served not just Congamon lakes, but there's a lot of lakes in Massachusetts, especially Western Mass, that would be well served by having the ability of the state to be able to do dredging in shallow waters. You've been pitching this for years. And I said, we talked to companies that do this, and they were saying, geez, with the amount of work you guys have, instead of hiring us, you probably should just buy a machine and do it.
That's what they were gonna do.
Right. And so I did bend her ear about that. She certainly has no objection to it, but it's not like she has control over any funding either. So it's certainly good if
Do you have a name
people,
that you've been speaking with?
yeah, I gotta look it up, but yes.
Yeah, if you can send it to me.
It's certainly good if people in the state, get the idea this is a good idea. So if somebody from the state legislature asks them, they'll go, yeah, that's a good idea. But that doesn't get us funding.
And she's in Mass DEP?
Yeah. Hang on.
Okay.
So I've got her. So it's Holly Brown. she's in the watershed planning program
Hmm,
in Mass DEP.
wow.
So
Okay, sounds like a good,
She's a TMDL analyst and really a terrific person to talk to. She was, great to talk to. Like I said, the problems she's mostly working are different than the problems we have, but if we can help her, and I told her, we'd be very happy to help and share with other lakes, what we've done and what's worked well and what have you. Because I think Congamon Lakes is kind of a success story,
yeah,
in a lot of way, and it's a success story not just as an event, but as decades of involvement. The S319 grants, the ongoing monitoring, when we had algae blooms, how quickly we responded to that stuff, our engagement with the community, getting support to get the funding for the alum treatment. All these things are just sort of, really very good success stories compared to a lot of what she deals with. So certainly, we're happy to share that. And hopefully somebody goes, geez, these guys are successful. Maybe we give them more money and they continue to be successful. Yes,
yeah,
that'd be good.
yeah. Okay, that's excellent. All right, so moving on. That gets us to. Page 13. Which is. The beginning of 159 Berkshire. And you can see the dialogue. And comments that you made, Eric, and then Norm made. On between 13 and 14. That, this thing's just hanging on. And then as requested at the last meeting. I forwarded to, again, asked Nicole to get the select board involved. Because we haven't seen anything come out of, a real schedule, a commitment.
Did I understand that Randy's leaving?
Yes,
Yeah, so that's another problem, right? Because the responsibility for this got shifted over to Randy, and now Randy's leaving, so we're going to lose the continuity.
yeah,
He's gone, isn't he already gone?
no, he leaves, from what I understand, it's July 8th is his last day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
so we're going to lose continuity right in the middle of this thing.
Well, we shouldn't, because what we should do is ask them to do a warm handoff before he leaves.
Right.
So we can bring someone up to speed, get all the documentation over to them. That's the way you do it in business.
Yeah, yeah,
Nope. I'm just not seeing evidence of it.
Well,
No.
we should ask them to.
Yeah.
well, I think that could come out of, maybe that I could do a follow-on. Actually, what I wanna do, Nicole is out, she's at, some training sessions. She's due back tomorrow, and I went in to see her yesterday. Today, she's still out on training, but she'll be in tomorrow, so I was gonna walk this in and have a chat. So that's a good point, as a handoff.
Yeah.
Do we know who it is?
No,
That's one reason to ask.
yeah. And I'm put TBD, hand off to TBD. Okay.
Yeah,
And.
sorry I'm not physically there. I'm dog sitting.
Hey, we have priorities.
Yeah. Okay. The Army Corps hydraulic grant. So I just processed a reimbursement for $12,269.36. And they're keeping up with it. So that is working. That system is working quite well. And we've got money. I also, just to give you an idea, we were able to earmark money just in case the hydraulic grant went bye-bye. So there was 12.5 added to our budget. And I did a PO for that in case it suddenly dries up, so that we're not left with no money. We can't take any action.
Okay.
The difference is, that would fund Solitude to do treatments, but it doesn't fund all that analysis that, Stantec does. The EDMA, yeah, that one. EDNA, so at least we're covered.
Mhm.
And, you know, as you, let's see, the next thing. Was the hydrilla pondweed. Pages 23 and on, so. We've had a couple of inputs, people are seeing. Eurasian water milfoil in North Pond and South Pond. In South Pond by Sunset Drive, by the end of Sunset, in North Pond over in the cove over there. Not to be, it's not unexpected, but they already did one assessment. You have a copy of that map,
Right.
but they're doing another assessment this coming week.
Oh, okay.
And they did it, the hope was. And that this is trying to get used to how fast does hydrilla grow? It doesn't grow at the same rate as the Eurasian water milfoil. And curly pondweed is different, those three are different, but. Curly leaf and Eurasian water milfoil are close enough so that when they do the assessment. It's okay, but when they did it, they didn't see that much hydrilla. So they're going back now and they're going to reassess the three ponds. And that's supposed to happen this coming week.
Now, does anyone in particular, maybe Eric knows, kick in because of the heat we've had? I mean, we've had 3 days of 95 to 100. Eric, does that stimulate that growth? This heat wave that we had? The
For-
amount of
for-
sun-
For some of the weeds, it does. I don't know for these. The other thing to remember, though, is we started with the water pretty cold. So
Yeah.
this heat wave has more kind of brought the water up to like roughly normal temperature for now. So
Yeah.
the fact that we started cold probably means that the heat wave won't have made a big effect on the growth rate, because we normally would have been almost this warm now anyway.
And that's part of why, when they did the assessment.
probably didn't see
the
much.
water was not as warm yet as it normally would be when they, that's the problem, is you can't just pick a date,
Right.
but they've been trying to work between Stanton and Solitude so that it helps both,
Yeah.
the data that they get is valuable to both parties. So at any rate, we will see another map coming. And yes, they will treat, just so that everybody knows, if anybody asks. There's been rumors that we're not treating the lake. That's not true. It is
Yeah.
going to be treated. It has to be treated in a timely manner. It will be treated probably mid-July. It will probably be the second week in July. And again, a lot of that's due to the water temperature being lower than normal this time of year. So,
Cold, wet spring.
yeah, sure has been. The, just give you an update, I did have input about, another dredge program that was available. And it's due on June 30th. I have yet to be able to get to my emails of 21 years of emails. And they're still horsing around. They say yes, and show me the money, put it on, make it available.
Wow.
Cause otherwise, we start from scratch, and there was a lot of research that went in that. And a lot of work that you did, Ken did, I did, there's literally hundreds of hours that went into that thing, and I don't wanna repeat that. So I don't know that we're gonna be able to get. I know we're not gonna be able to get it in by June 30th, because I would have had to have the email this week. To even have a chance of putting it together for Monday. But we are still on the docket, we're still trying to get the money through Senator Paul Mark. Which is fine, if we get it that way, that's good, that's equal. So I will continue to, try to get, the senator. And, you know, see who else can help us get that money that way as an earmark.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Nicole hasn't been able to help you get to those old emails?
Yeah, or she told who to do it and it's still not done.
Okay.
All right, vote census.
Is anybody working it? Because it sounded like there was initially resistance to doing it at all.
Right. And Doug Mogul said he will do it. And he's doing it on his own time. I
Yeah,
mean, he came in. The other part of the problem is I'm supposed to get my computer replaced because it's like talking to a cement block. It's it's getting very old and slow. And he tried and he loaded a bunch of them, but it's like watching grass grow, you know. So at any rate, he said he will continue trying to load it. The data exists. It's not that it's gone. But getting it back in is a very, very slow and tedious process. So he made a thing to Nicole. About they are supposed to get me a new computer. Replace the cement block that's there.
Yeah.
And that has not yet happened. So anyway.
Vote census or no?
Hmm?
Vote
Yeah, the
census?
boat census. So I have got, we wanna do the boat census. And we need volunteers to do North Pond,
Middle Pond for you.
Middle and South.
Well, I'll do Middle Pond.
Alright. Here's Middle, I can give you some extra copies, so.
Okay, that'd be good.
Are you able to do North? Yeah.
Mike and I will do south.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you there's a couple of copies for South. There's another one for Middle.
I'll hold
There's another one
on.
for
so you don't
North.
lose it.
Okay,
Like the middle of July, good time on it?
Yeah, yeah,
Middle of July.
we don't want it to go too
They're
late.
still going in.
Oh, yeah,
They're
yeah.
Going in.
Right, and they were late this year. I mean, the marinas were
Yeah.
not full.
No.
Kurt
There
was
you
I
go.
noticed that too.
Kurt was behind.
Even South Pond, he
Oh, yeah?
wasn't full either.
You wanna wait till after the fourth? Oh,
I think we got definitely wait till.
Middle of
Just
July.
got my board in last night at midnight.
Did you?
Yeah,
How are we gonna keep track?
this is the latest I've ever done it. I've been doing it for a lot of years.
Same thing, same thing. Right,
I don't have my PWC in yet. Not even in. the water.
no, there's a lot of boats aren't in yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of docks with nobody home.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
well, I'm gonna be interested to look at the count, because I know of one specific change that happened in PWCs in South Pond, so I want to see if it gets caught.
All right, does anybody else have anything?
I have a question on the cheats though. Last year after we did them, we went back through and changed a whole bunch of things. Is there anything sticks up to you, Norm, you were doing? That we gotta pay attention to get the right kind of raft, dock, whatever, float?
The issue was, wasn't it with boys?
No,
Boys?
I don't think so. I think it was how, I thought it was how something was being counted.
Yeah, wasn't it, like the kayak docks and, PWC docks and that sort of thing?
Lifts and things like
Lifts,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we talked about the PWC docks,
Yeah.
particularly the new flotation
The
ones.
flotation ones you drive up on and
Yeah.
they're lifts.
They're lit.
Right.
Are they considered a lift?
Yeah, I mean, we have to for this purpose.
Okay.
It's another dock, basically,
On another matter.
and we don't charge for them.
I have one quick question. How does anybody know to call Rick's Porta Potties if there's a problem with one of those porta potties
Can't
like
go,
today? There's no signage on the thing that I see.
they notify us. Well, I can ask the company before would not put their names on them. I will ask, we have a new company, we got rid of the one that was doing it,
Oh.
it was so bad.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm at the one today at Berkshire Avenue. If there's supposed to be the sanitizing
Hmm.
thing ripped off the wall, that's gone. The toilet,
Not much we can do about that.
lifter, you wouldn't wanna sit on this thing, cause I'd crap all over it. So I'm saying, geez,
They
and
clean it
almost
twice a
out,
week.
and almost out of toilet paper. So somebody needed to address it. That's all I'm saying.
Right, but they clean it twice a week and.
And I saw no phone number.
I'm not gonna clean it, you're
No,
not.
no, I don't expect you to, and I'm not gonna clean it either. But I didn't, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I thought I would have seen an 800 number to call to say, hey,
No, that's not right, because we own them. They have to let us know, and I get that. I have people, our ramp, if they let the ramp attendant know, they call me. Then I can call them. Because we can't have the public spending our money.
okay.
Do we have
just let
anybody
you know,
on
it's the
South Pond?
issue.
Do we have anybody on the south ramp collecting money?
Yes,
Every day,
No.
no, not every day.
just the weekend?
A lot depends, if it's busy,
Yeah, also, I only had one other person,
Yeah,
so I was very thankful when it was raining and cold.
okay.
I had three, three of us, and now I've got four.
Mm.
So North Ramp was being, taken care of, but I saw the problems itself,
Yeah.
yeah,
so I've been.
It's used a lot by the PWC guys, that's their home base now, so
Mm,
hmm,
there's not a lot you can do, cause there's nobody there, I guess.
yeah, I'm working on it.
yeah. It's tough to get people to
Oh,
hire
I'm sure.
people.
Yeah.
And the same
Hmm.
process that would trying to get my emails. The same problem.
I think the only question I have is, maybe Paul might know, you didn't ask, but CRC update. I know the chief, I believe, made the last meeting.
Yes, he
Was
did.
anybody here at that meeting?
I was there.
I did not make it. You did?
Mhm.
Did it go well? Do you have
It went-
anything?
He was well received. I don't think there was any new information.
Okay,
Um,
we got the boat parade coming.
yeah,
Next
and
week.
Michelle's
Yeah,
hopefully on top of that.
yeah.
Both Dick and I.
Yeah,
probably.
the
Permits
boat
were in.
parade permits are all done.
Are they doing live music up top this year?
Yeah, up at Babs.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I saw that in one of her emails,
Oh, good.
Mm,
yeah,
Okay,
and.
yeah. So I knew the Jeep was coming. Unfortunately, I was out of town. I wanted to go and ask them if they're actually gonna do anything, but I wasn't there.
Yeah,
I make a
And-
motion to adjourn if we're all done. I'm pushing because I gotta be someplace else.
yeah, no, is there anybody else?
I apologize for that.
All right, Scotty. Second is Paul M. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Staying?
Apologize.
We're out of here.